All right, y'all, so this week, John Denver turned 4 months old, so we're gonna be talking all about what we've been up to for the past 2 months together, what's been going well, and what's been a little bit more challenging. So let's talk about it. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Laura from Doggy U. I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, service dog trainer, and trick trainer. And today we're gonna be talking about a wide variety of topics, everything from potty training and obedience or skills that Denver is learning, as well as public access, hiking even, and how he's integrating into my household. So lots to cover today, let's get started. So I want to start off with saying that just because I'm a trainer doesn't mean raising a puppy is easy. Raising any puppy is super hard, especially if I have a specific way that I want to do it that involves, essentially a lot of time and effort on my part, especially for the first 2 months. So yeah, it's been challenging. And I also want to say that every dog has stuff that comes for free or is easy to cultivate and other stuff that's really challenging. So today we're going to be a little bit objective about talking about the things that are coming easily to us and the things that are just a little bit harder. Because again, I'm a person, Denver's a dog, and we're learning how to coexist, communicate, and thrive together. So let's start with talking about the different skills that he's gained over the past 2 months. So the first thing everyone wants to know is what obedience skills John Denver has. So obedience, like in general, I just call it skills or behaviors. I have a bunch of things that are in progress, but the important thing to remember is that I can teach obedience skills at any time. What I care most about in these first few months is actually building a love of learning and a love of interacting with me. That is of utmost importance versus having a really amazing downstay or whatever. I'm gonna work on all those things, but in the context of how do I get this dog to just love working and training with me. So the behaviors that we have in some level of progress are sit, down, stay, come, go to place, a little bit of loose leash walking skills, close, which is coming between my legs, and also a retrieve. So let's talk about what's coming easy and what's coming hard. Any active motion behavior, Denver is all for it. He is a dog on the move and he loves doing the thing. His favorite thing is to go to my basement door where my training studio is and just wait for me to want to go down there and train, which means I'm really happy with how I'm doing as far as keeping his motivation and excitement around training very high. And this is an incredibly intelligent and just fast learner type of dog, which is my favorite kind of dog. I was kind of messing around and just playing with him the other day, and I had my fridge out, which I was teaching him to pull open. And we hadn't done any pushing of objects yet. He's done some hand touching and some targeting, but no closing a door or anything like that. And I just had him sit and watch me as I opened the door and then pushed it closed, opened the door and pushed it closed. And then I released him with the door open. He went right over and pushed the door close. I mean, that was just me seeing what was possible. It's not generally how I train things, but it's just an example of him being really in tune and trying to figure things out all the time. Now his speed and just willingness to give it everything he has is amazing, but it can also make other behaviors challenging. Like for instance, stays and waits. Impulse control is something we've worked really hard on. Settling is another thing that we're working really, really hard on that you can get for free with some dogs. Like a dog that has a little bit chiller vibe, those things come easier too. They don't come super easy to Denver. So we work a lot on our settling behaviors, reinforcing for a natural settle, as well as our actual stay behavior, which I only really started not in earnest a week or two ago. I'd kind of thrown it in there a little bit into training, but generally when I get a dog, I want to work to their strengths to start with to make sure that they're really enjoying the training, and then kind of incorporate the things that are a little bit harder in between, sandwiched in between the things that they find really, really fun. So stays are definitely something that's going to be more challenging for him, but we're working up and I'm really happy with our progress so far. We've also been working a lot on trick training, and this week Denver actually earned his intermediate trick dog title from the AKC. Now the reason we've been doing that is twofold. One is that I'm gonna be leaving and going on the road for 2 months with him starting next week, so I won't have access to all the props that I have at home. So the other reason that we did the trick title stuff and used that as a catalyst for some of the training that we did was because it's a lot of foundation work for service dog tasks in the future, being able to retrieve something, push something closed, pull something open, and then a lot of stuff on the trick titles are related to confidence building. So being able to go over a teeter or a wobbly peanut or a wobble board, all of that is, activities that are going to be important in his future. And I had access to the equipment here while I'm home, and I won't have that in a week. So we kind of pushed a little bit on that end, but I also love training tricks because it's non-pressure. Even as a trainer, sometimes you get in the mindset of like, oh, I'd really like this to be better. But when you're trick training, it's all just for fun for you and your dog. So I do a lot of focusing on trick training because it just brings me a lot of joy, and Denver seems to be having a really fun time with it. Now with those trick titles, we were practicing our retrieves, and one reason I wanted to get our retrieves in early is because once he starts losing his teeth, which actually just started this week, I back off doing the retrieves because I don't want him to associate picking items up with pain from his mouth hurting from breaking new teeth. So we worked on that a lot, and now I'm going to be backing off of that behavior for a little while until he has his adult teeth. So now that he has a couple trick titles under his belt, the next thing we're going to be focusing on is our work towards our Canine Good Citizen test. So our CGC, which can be taken at 6 months. But if he's not ready for it at 6 months, no big deal, he'll take it when he's ready. But that's something that doesn't require a lot of equipment or props, so I can practice a lot of that stuff while I'm on the road with him. We've also been working on Shed Hunt, which is a game that I hope to play with him in the future, but basically he needs to be able to go out on a little over an acre of land and find 5 sheds and bring them to hand. So we've been working on both bringing the shed to my hand as well as being able to scent it. And that's a really great game for when it gets really cold out, like today. It was 2 degrees when we woke up, so we won't be walking in 2 degrees. So I was able to hide his shed a few times in the basement, have him sniff it out and retrieve it to me, and it's a fun game that also uses a bunch of his mental energy, which is great. So that's a little bit of an overview of where his skills are at, what we're working on, and what we'll be working towards next. So now let's talk a little bit about potty training. So potty training is going exceptionally well. He is reliably relieving on grass, dirt, gravel, and on AstroTurf, all on cue. Being able to relieve on all of those surfaces is really important to me because I will be traveling a lot with him and he needs to be able to go to the bathroom, especially the AstroTurf, which I actually purchased a strip of AstroTurf to relieve him on every morning because I need him to also be able to go to the bathroom in airports, which is usually like that AstroTurfy stuff for them to go on. So very important to me, and he's doing it on cue, which is fantastic. It's also great for the winter when I just want him to go really quickly so that we can go back inside and warm up. Now, I did keep track of all the accidents that he had during potty training, and the total amount of accidents he had over the last 2 months was 3 accidents, all pee, no poop. The first 2 were in the first 10 days or so, and it was totally just me knowing he needed to go and just not getting out fast enough. And then he had 1 at 14 weeks, and that was a miscommunication thing where I thought he had been taken out to go and he hadn't. So, of course, all of those are my fault, as most accidents are, but 3 over the course of 2 months is not too bad. Now, I am considering making a mini course on potty training for service dogs specifically, because I think there's like a lot of pet dog advice that doesn't translate well into the service dog world, and there's more things that we need our service dog to be able to do that make our lives much easier as handlers. So if a course on potty training for service dog interests you, let me know down in the comments below so I can kind of gauge interest. Now let's talk about the integration of the puppy into my household of 2 other dogs that have lots of opinions. So I did an entire 45-minute deep dive on this over on Patreon. So if you want to see all of the strategies and how I did this, check that out over on Patreon. But it's been a slow introduction. I knew that Cool Whip was going to have a hard time with a puppy coming into the house. So I knew that it was going to be quite a bit of work on my part, and it has been. But we've made a ton of progress, and we're now at the point where they can hike together, they can be in the room together. They're not generally just loose together because like it's just too much for Whip right now. John Denver is a lot and he's just a very busy dog. And for 2 herding dogs that really just want like to control everything, that can be a little bit challenging. Now, Jake and Denver has gone quite well. However, Jake is, he's old, he's 15, and so he's not super stable. So if Denver bumps into him or tries to jump on his head or anything like that, that can be a problem for Jake's stability and he could fall over. So that is also being managed. And it's probably something that I'll have to manage long term just because Jake isn't going to become more stable as he gets older. But overall, I'm really happy with how it's going in the household. We've practiced a lot of different skills to help make everybody coexist well. One of them is turn taking, which I think is really important. So teaching each dog that when you say their name, the food is coming to them. So, and also that if Denver gets a treat, Jake and Whip get a treat, which makes them like being in proximity to Denver. So I want to say their names: Denver, give him a treat; Whip, give him a treat; Jake, give him a treat. This is important so Denver isn't trying to collapse or jump on them because he thinks the food is his, any of that type of thing. So we want to teach that taking turns. It's also kind of a precursor when we started training together, so being able to have each dog on a platform, pull one dog off, train that dog, and put them back. Taking turns is the precursor to that. So yeah, they're not all best friends yet, but the fact that Denver and Whip are able to hike together, be in the yard together, all of that is a lot of really good progress, and I expect that within the next month or so, they'll be able to hang out in the house as well together as Denver kind of matures a little bit and Whip accepts him more. And they've been able to do that a lot more recently, so yeah, I'm really happy with how that's going. Now let's talk about one of my favorite activities, and one of the reasons that I got a lab specifically is because I really enjoy hiking, and Denver has been introduced to hiking and has become a part of my daily hiking routine. We hike most days between 3/4 of a mile and 2 miles, with each hike being usually a mile or less, and we take that at his pace. He's learning that he has to slow up when I need to navigate more challenging terrain with my knee. And we've also picked out all the best sticks and pine cones together. He loves to pick up pine cones. His whistle recall is also going really well, and I've been able to call him off other dogs, poop, and even toilet paper, which is probably his favorite thing. When we're hiking, we also practice his obedience. So we practice his retrieves, we practice stays, all of that is part of our hiking because we break up our hiking into we're moving forward, we're pausing for a moment, we're moving forward, we're pausing. Speaking of toilet paper, and I think paper is one of Denver's many loves in life, he recently found out that there is toilet paper in the public bathroom. Now, he doesn't have access to toilet paper in our house because it is up on a shelf right now because it's just too tempting for him, but he found out that they also have it in public now. So I imagine that it's pretty funny listening to me train him while I'm in a public bathroom stall to stand still and to not go and investigate the toilet paper holder. Anyway, life of a trainer. Public outings. So Denver has been a lot of places, and I think it's important to remember that when I take him to these places, we are there for 5 to 10 minutes. We are doing short trips to these locations. We're just trying to normalize all of the things that happen inside a store for him or whatever location we're at without overwhelming him or thinking that he's going to act like anything other than a puppy. Burnout can happen really easily when we have unrealistic expectations for where our puppy is developmentally. So the types of places that he's been has been Cabela's, a sports store, bookstore, Michael's, that's a craft store, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Home Depot, Lowe's, so lots of different places that are pet friendly. He's also been to several friends' houses and 2 different training facilities and lots of outdoor mall locations. He's also been outside a couple of coffee shops to hang out and watch people. And I think it's important to say here that a lot of people want to do the obedience and the fancy stuff, but just watching things is really an important part of their development as service dogs. There's 2 places that I was hoping to work into our schedule that I haven't yet, and one of them I'm not going to be able to because of just the time of year that it is, and that was the airport and outside of the mall, or the foyer area of the Nordstrom's, which is pet friendly, of the mall. So I may or may not do the mall location. I definitely won't do the airport location. We have a local airport that's really calm, and half of it doesn't get used, half of the baggage area doesn't get used, so I can go there and be really far away from people. But right now during the holidays is not the time for me to bring a very young dog there. So I won't be doing that. That'll have to be once I come back from my trip. And then the mall thing, I personally just don't think I'm gonna brave the mall during right before Christmas. So that's another one that is going to kind of be back shelved, but I'm not worried about it. Just 2 places that I kind of put on the list for short exposure trips that just didn't happen. I think he's gone to plenty of different exposure trips that did happen that I'm not worried about those more busy locations right now. One thing that I really love about Denver at this stage is his natural handler focus. Yes, I have rewarded it and cultivated it, but it came for free. It was part of my breeder matching him with me, was the amount of focus he had on handler. And he does. He really enjoys working. When we're out and about, I'm not having to fight for his attention very often. He wants to be working with me and to see what I'm doing, which is just, it makes life so much easier. And this is part of why finding a breeder that's a good fit and understands your needs is really important. So yeah, I'm pretty in love with my puppy. He is such a good boy, and he has a lot of the qualities that I was looking for. You know, food motivation, I was really looking for a dog that's really food motivated. I think it should be really high up on your list if you're looking to have a service dog, is a dog that is motivated by food. I mostly train with his regular kibble. His recovery rate is also really quick. So if he does get startled or nervous about something, he works through it so quickly and doesn't hold a grudge about it. He's very much an optimist, which I really desired in my next dog. He's also just wicked smart and willing. Like, he's a dog you could train 10 times a day and he would show up all 10 times at 100%. Now, I don't do that, but he definitely would. He loves to work. Now, I do want to mention the two things that have been most challenging, because I think it's important for you to understand that I have things that I find challenging as well. And the first is stillness. Now, we talked quite a bit about that. He is a 4-month-old puppy, and as he matures and also I cultivate the ability to settle in him more, I think that will, as he gets older, it will continue to progress in the direction that I want it to go.
In fact, just 2 weeks after I filmed this video, I started seeing our hard work paying off with moments of calm settling.
The other thing is vocalness. So Denver has been a pretty vocal dog since I brought him home. And by that, I mean a little bit whiny and talkative, but not barky. So he talks to his food, like his Kong. When he wakes up in the morning, he does this most adorable yawn in the entire world. He does have a little bit of fear of missing out, like a little bit of FOMO that we've worked on as well in the crate and with the other dogs. So he just is a little bit vocal. And vocalness is not something that's great for service dog stuff, but fortunately I haven't noticed it out in public at all. So it's just something that's on my radar that I continue to kind of try and make it so that Denver doesn't feel like he needs to vocalize, because that's something that we want to kind of pull out of his repertoire eventually. And again, some of this will probably get better as, he develops and matures, and some of it will be training. But yeah, overall, I adore this dog. I love him so much. I am so glad that I got a lab, and specifically this lab. I am very attached to him already. The first day that he went out with Casey to go do some day training while I filmed, I literally almost cried because I didn't want him to leave. I love him so much. I adore him, and I am so excited for the life that we're gonna have together and the things that we're going to be able to do together. All right, y'all, if you liked that video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out this video next, because you're gonna enjoy it as well. Have an awesome week from me in Denver. Oh boy.